I know we've talked about off-season grades on a much earlier podcast. It was way too early to do that. We had rose-colored glasses on. We were looking at the Asar Thompson Summer League highlights and be like, A plus, A plus, A plus. What a great offseason. Can't believe they found this guy with the 5th pick. Just incredible. But let's get into this because the 2023-24 season is upon us. Now that the dust has settled, the roster is pretty much set going into the season. How would you grade this offseason for the Pistons? I have my answer. If you want, I can drop it right now, and I'm going to do it. It's a B plus. Now, if we were just to exclude the draft, or I mean, if we were excluding the draft or excluding the trades he made, I would give it a B minus. I think that if you combine the draft and what he did with trades and, I guess doing with the cap season, it goes up a little bit. I mean, some people might argue that it would probably be a B minus, like I think I already said. But what is your grade? I'll get into why I gave it a B plus here in a second after I hear your answer.
So I think when you give off-season grades, you need to do not only the NBA draft, but you also need to account in free agency in the moves you made.
Yeah.
So I'll start with the draft. Just a quick recap. They get Asar Thompson at 5, which I think most Pistons fans are extremely excited for. He's exactly what you need out of that small forward position. He can guard multiple positions. He can pass the basketball. Only thing we've really talked about is can that 3-point shot translate to the next level? I think it will. So I think the draft pick was amazing.
Yeah.
You go up and you go get Marcus Sasser for the 25th pick. You trade with the Celtics. And he's a guy that I think a lot of fans are very excited about. Don't really see too many Pistons fans talking about him too much, but I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. So I thought the draft as a whole was a good draft. I gave it a B plus. Free agency, this is where I think fans get pissed because it seems like every year we're like, oh, we got all this cap space. We're going to sign all these big name free agents. And Troy Weaver has done this since he's gotten here. He uses his cap space and trades, right?
Yeah.
You trade for Joe Harris, which used $18 million of your cap space. And at that time, I was not too happy with that trade. I gave it like a C minus, just because I thought that they were going to go big game hunting. I thought they were going to go get that Cam Johnson. I really did. I thought they were going to go get a difference maker out there. We were told we had James Edwards on this podcast a couple times last year, and he said, don't be surprised if they go and get Jeremy Grant or Cam Johnson or a wing like that. And they didn't do that, right? They didn't do any of that. So Joe Harris tried to give it like a C minus because I just didn't understand it. Then you go and get your guy, Monte Morris.
Yep.
For a second round pick. And the Wizards were trying to save cap space. They didn't want to have him on the roster. I gave that move an A plus. And the reason why I gave it an A plus is because you just got one of the best backup point guards for 1 year that does not turn the ball over. He averaged the same assists or the same stats as Killian Hayes, but he was way more efficient. If you look at their stats, they're identical, but Monte Morris was way more efficient. So you look at that move. I gave it an A. I gave Joe Harris a C. I think the offseason, I'm giving Troy like a B minus.
Okay.
I thought the Monte Morris trade was phenomenal. I thought the Joe Harris trade, I was like, okay. If he pans out, great. Another veteran, another 40%, 3-point shooter, cool. But I don't think the off season's over either, dude. I still think that there's a trade out there. I just don't know who's it going to be. We talked about it. Is it going to be Bagley? Is it going to be Killian? I think they make one more move before the season does start. But as of right now, as we're recording this on October 1st, I'm giving Troy Weaver a B minus for this offseason. I love the draft. I was kind of underwhelmed with free agency, but I think I got too hyped reading all these articles, from the Athletic, from the Free Press, from national media telling us that we're, going big game hunting for all these free agents, and we don't do that. If Troy signs someone going into next summer, I will be fucking shocked. I really will. it will, man. Like if he signs somebody to like a big contract, I will be shocked. I was like, what the hell? He didn't trade for somebody. He always has me thinking, but I think overall B minus. I think you said B minus too.
Well, I said B plus, and I'm an idiot because I don't know why I said excluding the draft. Let me just break this down. I thought the draft was an A. And because I thought, getting Asar, even though I was not happy going into the draft. I mean, after I saw the highlights and checked out a few more things about him and watched Summer League, I'm like, whew, man, this kid's a player. And then going out and getting Marcus Nasser, who I do not think would be there at 32. I don't think he would have been available in the second round. I think he would have been picked up by probably like the Boston Celtics or something. But I think the draft was an A. I gave the offseason a B minus just because Monty Morris is going to be such a huge contributor to this team. You already said it. Like he's probably the best backup point guard in the NBA. 10 points, 5 assists, 1 turnover, and that's a career high for him. It's unreal. Like the guy just plays smart basketball. I didn't hate the Joe Harris move because I think even though Joe Harris did play, I think 73 games last year, he was a little banged up. When he's healthy and the shot is falling, he's one of the best shooters in the NBA. And yeah, he's not a great defender. He's probably not even a good defender, but he's a capable defender. He can also put the ball on the ground a little bit when people close out on him. Like he's a little bit better than people are giving him credit for. And I think where most people get soured is I think if we didn't have those reports about Cam Johnson or some other big name free agents, we'd probably look at the Joe Harris trade a little bit differently, or we'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, we get it. And now that Isaiah Livers is hurt, you kind of understand why you brought in a Joe Harris. Because even though I think both you and I assumed that Isaiah Livers would be the guy getting the rotation minutes and Joe Harris might have been out of it, I would much rather have Joe Harris being the 10th, 11th man sitting on the bench getting did not plays versus like a Jamarco Pickett. Because if an Isaiah Livers or a Bojan goes out, now you're forced to play Jamarco Pickett, but now we're actually going to be forced to play Joe Harris, who is a much better basketball player than Jamarco Pickett. That's why you have veterans on your team like that. Even though the $19 million a year is a lot for an emergency option, I'd rather have Joe Harris at 19 as an emergency option than Jamarco Pickett or some guy in his level of play, which is basically like 1 foot in the NBA, like a foot and a half in the G League. But yeah, so I would say a B plus. It will be an A for me if he can trade Killian Hayes, though. If he could pull that off, it'd be crazy. But yeah, those are my grades in the offseason.